And welcome to College Football Time with Avry and Miguel. I'm Avry. This week, we are going to look at the world's largest cocktail party, Georgia versus Florida. This is a great matchup, a great rivalry. This game every year, if you want a t-shirt of a house divided, this is true. You sometimes have players who are from Georgia go to Florida, players that are from Florida go to Georgia. It's a great rivalry. And this week it's happening in Jacksonville, Florida. You have Georgia that is 7-0. They have a 24-game win streak that dates back to last year. You have Florida, which are 5-2. They've had some really great games this season, and they really want to bring it to Georgia. Coach Billy Napier actually called in probably a great head coach to help the Florida Gators, and he called Coach Steve Spurrier. And Coach Spurrier this week had some really great words of wisdom for the players. Coach Spurrier actually has a record of 11-1 when he coached for the Florida Gators and had a very, very great winning record against Georgia. This week, Georgia going to have to play a really strong game, even though they're ranked number one. I feel even if they win this game, even by a small margin, it could disrupt their ranking. You have Michigan, you have Ohio State, right in Florida State, right behind, just itching to jump up a slot to make sure they cement their playoff seeding picture. You have Georgia with total yardage of over 500, which is going to be really key for that Florida defense. Their passing has over 337 yards, with Florida averaging about 280. When it comes to yardage allowed, the Georgia defense is going to smother the run. They have yet to average over 100 yards, but you have Florida just averaging over 120. But I see these two defenses smothering the run on both sides, which it's going to make both quarterbacks on each team trust their gut, trust their receivers. They're going to have to let go of the ball. They're going to put the ball in the air, and the receivers are going to have to make plays to see how they can handle the atmosphere, even though it's in Jacksonville, which is a bit of a neutral site. It's not that far from Gainesville, so you might as well call it the swamp as well. A big key for Georgia, they are without their leading receiver and tight end Brock Bowers. He's with an injury. It looks like he's going to miss at least a month with a badly sprained ankle. Georgia is going to have to rely on their other weapons, probably Deshaun Edwards as well. So it's going to be tough for Georgia, but they have a lot of key pieces that they can rely on, that they can go to. Carson Beck, who is from Jacksonville, Florida, is playing this game in his hometown. So probably nerves for him. I think really excited considering he is playing against Florida. On the other side, Graham Mertz, he's got nearly 1,900 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he needs to be key when playing for Florida on Saturday, because you really want to start strong with Georgia. Georgia has struggled for a few games where they've been down. They've been down versus South Carolina. They've been down versus Auburn. They've been down versus Vanderbilt. But usually right after the half, Georgia kicks it into high gear. I think Florida needs to start strong. If they can get Georgia down early and rattle them, Florida could have this game. If you look back earlier in the season, even though they lost their opener versus Utah, they played very well against Tennessee. But I think their game versus Kentucky kind of set them back, because Florida was really, really rolling right there. And I think those two losses are the reason why Florida is not ranked, but they've played some really great football, especially in the past couple weeks. Florida running back Montrell Johnson, he could be a key piece, as well as Deshaun Edwards for Georgia. Their running back. They both average about the same, over 5 yards per carry. Edwards has 6 touchdowns. Johnson has 4 touchdowns, but both gentlemen have over 450 yards for the season. So I see them trying to break out with some really purpose runs, possibly being a receiver for both quarterbacks as well to help that if the run isn't working. Like I said in the beginning, this is called the world's largest cocktail party. Between the Georgia state line and the Florida state line, it's not that far. So families, they'll make the trip from Georgia to Florida for this game. You have families that have kids playing for Georgia, they'll make the trip up to Jacksonville. Even where I live in Florida, it's about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive, for anybody going to that game. And I think it's going to be a great game because this game can really cement Georgia staying in the playoff and that #1 slot. But Florida has a chance to not only knock off Georgia, but to also upset pretty much that top 10 ranking right now. So if we want to take a step forward a little bit, if you look at what Georgia has after this game, they play Missouri, they play Mississippi, and they play Tennessee. And right now, those 3 teams are all ranked. Florida, they play Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, and FSU. And right now, 3 of those 4 teams are ranked. So Florida has a chance to not only knock off the Bulldogs, but possibly upset what that top 10 looks like right now. But Georgia has to play a really strong game in order to cement themselves not only as the #1 seed, but keep that winning record going right now. So far, they have 24 straight wins. Let's see if they can do it. As far as a prediction, I got to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Georgia on this, but I think it's going to be a close game. I see Georgia winning 30-27. I think it's going to be really close. I think Florida is going to give Georgia a real run for their money, but I think it's going to be close the entire game. You might see 10-point lead here or there, but I think it's going to be back or forth. But I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to go with Georgia on this one, 30-27. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.